Ice jam flooding has been an ongoing problem that has plagued the First Nation communities of Saskatchewan and Fort Albany on the slopes of the Albany River, which flows into the mighty James Bay. Hi, I'm Chris May, writer, producer, and host of This Day in Weather History from the Weather Network in Canada. Over the past 45 years, 5 major ice jam events occurred on the Albany River in northern Ontario. This is the story of what happened this day in weather history. We go about 450 kilometers north of Timmins, Ontario for this story. Over that 45-year period, frequent evacuations of these communities to safer ground have had to take place. In the 1990s, dike systems were built to protect the communities from flooding. This 5-kilometer-long ring dike surrounds the Saskatchewan First Nation community, and in the spring of 2006, the water level rose to within a half meter of the top of the 3.5-meter high ring dike, but it was successful in protecting the community this time. Fast forward to April 2008 now. The long-range forecast was for a rapid spike in temperatures, and that was sure to cause an equally rapid snowmelt. It's mid-April now, and the forecast has not changed. It still calls for a warming trend that spells potential disaster for residents along the Albany River. April 21st, 2008. It was reality now.
What's happening is the ice has begun to move on the main river, and it's blocking up the mouth of the river. So all the water that's coming down is backing up. So it's filling up all the channels, and this is the most southerly channel on the Albany River. So all this water is backing up, and as a result is pushing all this ice that you see coming through right now.
It was obvious what was coming next on April 27th, this day in weather history. Remember that this day in weather history can be enjoyed a number of ways. Right now, you are listening to the full version of today's story on your favorite podcast provider, but there is also the daily podcast video short. They are shot right here in my podcast recording studio, so you get that perspective, and oftentimes they will include visuals from that day's event, from when it happened in weather history. So after listening to the full story, go check out the podcast video short on television or online anytime at theweathernetwork.com/weather history. On Sunday, April 27th, 2008, residents of Fort Albany, a First Nations community primarily made up of women and children, were forced to flee what were now the worst floods since 1985. Because of the rapid ice breakup on the river, they now had mighty ice flows racing downstream at a force that burst through the dikes, thrusting river water up, over, and onto the mainland of the reserve where the 900 residents lived. Suddenly, there was about 4 feet of water surrounding homes, the airport, and the local hospital.
Okay, this is where I live. It's about almost 2 feet. I'm wearing hip waders, and all my basement is flooded. I had a lot of stuff here, and most of it's gone. So I managed to save some upstairs. It came really fast, like we were sleeping upstairs, and we were tired from staying up all night, and we didn't think something like this would happen. It came from behind, not from the main river, so it was kind of surprising, and we didn't have that much time to move anything at all. So
this resulted in a full evacuation. Those residents living on the mainland were rushed to the island, where about 70% of the population lives, actually. Other evacuees were taken anywhere there was room. There were 1,900 residents at the time between Saskatchewan and Fort Albany combined. A flight of about 1,000 evacuees from nearby Saskatchewan were flown to Stratford, Ontario. Military choppers flew into the mainland along the Albany River near James Bay around 8 o'clock in the morning and continued right through until 5 p.m. that day to fly 344 people out to Moosonee and then on to Kapuskasing. And there were close to about 250 residents who were evacuated 2 days earlier to this day in weather history. Tomorrow is April 28th, and there are some hail stories that just defy imagination. Tomorrow is definitely one of those. Imagine this. a man's hand is broken by a very large hailstone that hit him directly from the sky while a tent protecting people from the rain at a sports bar collapses. And what happened next is just too much to get into now. Let's just say I'll tell you all about giant hail in St. Louis, Missouri tomorrow on This Day in Weather History with me, your host, Chris May.